I never went to journalism school. I never heard all the pompous lectures on objectivity and proper journalistic practice. And weirdly, since consumer reporting was brand new, media critics left me alone. In fact, they cheered me on, called my work a public service. They gave me 19 of these Emmy Awards because of my obvious agenda, which was lots of businesses are bad, government must watch them and regulate them. But then I wised up. I learned businesses usually succeed by serving customers well, and that most government regulation hurts consumers by limiting choice and raising prices. But strangely, when I applied my same confrontational approach to government regulators, my ABC News bosses suddenly had objections. You can't say that. Once I became a skeptic of government, I had to fight to get my stories on ABC News. To be fair, I often won, but over time, less and less often. So I eventually left ABC and came here where I'm free to report on what I think is important. ABC's executives still won't admit that they have any bias, nor do the bosses at CBS, NBC, and PBS or NPR.
CBS News investigative correspondent Cheryl Atkinson.
At CBS, investigative reporter Cheryl Atkinson was allowed to criticize the government.
Cheryl Atkinson has the latest.
She reported on Benghazi.
It seems as though somebody decided to guide the American public's viewpoint toward that YouTube video.
She revealed that bureaucrats didn't tell the truth about the Obamacare website.
They say 9 in 10 people are at least able to create an account. However, I tried 3 times today to create an account, and the system, Scott, would not let me do it.
So as you saw, CBS let Cheryl Atkinson do those reports for a while, but eventually something changed, and she's here to tell us what happened and why she left CBS. Cheryl?
Hey, John, thanks for having me.
So what happened?
The newer management simply, in my view, did not want these government watchdog stories in general. There were times when they would let us do those and encourage us to do them, and then the light switch would go off and they suddenly wouldn't want them. But as time went on, the last couple of years in particular, it was harder and harder to get stories on television, not just about the government, but about any powers that be. That was very clear at CBS. Armin Katayan, our New York investigative reporter, left before I did. As you know, Lisa Meyer and Michael Isikoff have left their investigative reporting jobs at other networks.
You had stories killed, or they just said, "Oh, we don't want that anymore." They would never say to you, "Oh, we don't want you criticizing our president."
Absolutely not. Things like that are never said. I guess there's more of a signal set. There wasn't time in the broadcast, "Oh, we have to drop something and your story will have to wait." They question the stories to death, even when they're legally approved and perfectly solid. They keep questioning and turning them over and churning them around, and they kind of die the death of 1,000 cuts.
That's what happened to me at ABC. I had well-rated stories on school choice and on government health care. And I tried to go back to this well when it was really in the news. Now there was a school choice movement, now there was Obamacare, and my boss said, "Oh, you're just doing these predictable libertarian stuff. Nobody wants to watch that." But they'd rated well.
During sequestration especially, our highly successful government waste follow the money stories, which we had done for years, primarily under President Bush, but not in particular because of President Bush. These federal bureaucracies persist from administration to administration. I argued they were more relevant than ever, and those are hugely popular with viewers, and we're talking about how money is spent and wasted and abused at a time, by the millions and billions, at a time when the government is spending more than it takes in, and talking about sequestration.
You tried to do stories on green energy waste.
Green energy was another topic. It began very popular. I did a very well-received story for CBS. And they at one point said, "We'd love to have as many of those as you can give us," because there were so many ripe areas to investigate, and I had been doing quite a bit of groundwork. You reported on Beacon
Power, not just Solyndra. Beacon Power got $43 million despite having a terrible credit rating.
There were so many of them. So after the first report, when they said, "Give us more," I never was able to get another one on at least the broadcast that said that, because some light switch went off. There was a lot of pushback from the administration, which got their surrogates and bloggers involved to write false things about, sort of controversialize the reporting and make false accusations. That stuff takes on a life of its own.
So you weren't fired. You just got frustrated and left?
Exactly. I would find at CBS if they didn't want a story, which is fine. They don't want all stories. but then there's nothing I can do with it. You can't just go self-publish something, and these were very important stories, I felt, with whistleblowers who had gone out on a limb sometimes to expose something, and I thought they deserved exposure.
Thank you, Cheryl Atkinson. So what's the truth? The big picture. Do reporters spin the news? Do news bosses routinely censor stories?